President Trump is eyeing massive changes to capital gains taxes that would include XRP and other crypto assets ahead of the midterms. We are also seeing new information about XRP price and where the token might be going, as well as Scott Bessent and the OCC are making dramatic changes that will impact companies like Ripple and, of course, XRP. I'm going to cover all of these stories and so much more in this video. Let's just break it on down. President Trump is looking at cutting capital gains taxes and easing rules on home sales. President Trump is weighing to cut capital gains taxes ahead of the midterm elections per Bloomberg. There has not been a major cut to capital gains tax rates in the United States since 2003. If Congress enacted a broad federal capital gains tax cut, it would apply to XRP holders because the IRS currently treats crypto as property. A U.S. holder who sells or exchanges XRP at a profit would generally owe less federal tax on those realized gains, assuming the final law covers digital assets and the holder meets its conditions. How could this also impact XRP? It would mean lower tax friction on realized gains. XRP held longer than 1 year is generally subject to long-term capital gains treatment. Cutting that rate or indexing gains for inflation would increase holders after tax proceeds when they do sell. Potentially more willingness to rebalance or take profits. Investors who have delayed sales because of tax costs might be more willing to sell, rotate, or realize gains. That is not automatically bullish in the short term. It could create sell-side supply from long-term holders, even as lower taxes improve the asset class attractiveness over time. Also, better economics for U.S. investment, not specifically for XRP, but the broader market in general. And of course, more attractive long-term holding structure. In 2026, long-term federal capital gains rates are generally 0, 15, or 20%, depending on taxable income. Short-term gains are generally taxed as ordinary income rates. A rate cut only affects long-term gains and would strengthen the incentive to hold XRP for more than a year rather than trade it actively. So a lot of things happening around that. I do want to transition to XRP price. Let me know what you guys think below. Is that going to happen? We only have a few months ahead before midterms. I think President Trump is looking to make some big moves to try to garnish support for Republicans before everybody goes to vote in November. Cassie Trades does have great analysis for XRP and other crypto assets. I want to show you what she just said. She says, I'm moving my buy to 94 cents. Remember, I am not trying to capture the exact bottom. I want the entire order filled. I do think 87 cents prints on the chart. Yes, that's still my target. And obviously, I'd love to buy XRP there, but I'm not trying to be cute and perfectly catch the wick and waiting for months or years for this opportunity. So she says she's been waiting for a long time to get XRP below $1 again. She thinks the XRP could hit 87 cents, but she's really setting up her buys around 94 cents because she knows it's really difficult, even when you're an incredible chart analysis person, to call the exact bottom. And so she's saying if she can get close here long term, it really won't matter a few cents here or a few cents there. A lot of people are predicting, will the market go up or down for XRP? As you can see, the order data is 51% of people say up and 49% people say down. And so right now there's about $4.9 million worth of volume on Kalshi. If you want to predict if the market's going up or down, it's pretty easy. You can open an account using my link below and put in how much you want to trade here. You can also go up to 3.8x leverage. I like Kalshi because you can do predictions on elections, politics, sports, culture, crypto, commodities, climate, economics, mentions finance, tech and science, and so much more. I've been exploring with this, putting in a few things here and there. You guys should take a look as well. You can sign up today, and they have some massive discounts and, of course, incentives if you guys get signed up today with my link. All right, XRP hasn't lost any macro structure. This is a corrective phase like past 70 to 90% corrections. It is the same classic setup that precedes major expansion phases. Thank you, Moodlando, for consistently showcasing my work. Let me go ahead and play this.
Then there's this from Chartner. Now, to his credit, he is one of the analysts out there who's been warning about this for a long time. In fact, he first started talking about this in December of 2025 when the price of XRP was much higher at the moment. And here we did indeed get it today, so credit where it's due. And he shared this post from an account named Crypto Rover. This is just a silly nonsense post. Crypto Rover wrote, XRP just fell below $1.
I blocked Crypto Rover. It's most nonsense.
For the first time since November 2024. RIP XRP holders. Yeah. RIP? Are we resting in peace? Are we resting in peace right now? Because I don't think we are. I'll tell you what. If that drop down to 10 cents after being at $3.30 didn't kill us, and after that drop from the SEC lawsuit suing Ripple, trying to basically obliterate XRP, make it no longer exist, if those things weren't going to result in us resting in peace as XRP holders, I don't think this is going to either. Because the fundamentals never been stronger, we have legal clarity here, and the market is clearly at an advanced bottoming stage. This is not a time to be saying RIP XRP holders. What a silly nonsense thing to write. And so Chart Nerd wrote, just look at these accounts capitalizing on engagement now that XRP is swept below the psychological $1 level. From here on in, you will likely see all kinds of extreme bearish sentiment, extensive downside target ranges, in general, it's all over tweets. Stay the course. Yeah, and here's another one that he shared. This is from Rand Group. XRP Army in disbelief. No, I'm actually not in disbelief. This is actually very normal crypto stuff, as I've been insisting, even leading up to this, because I'm not afraid to cover the potential negative stuff, which now has happened into the world. No, it turns out I still hold the same amount of XRP I did before this, and it does not matter. When crypto continues to behave like crypto's been behaving for over 17 years, I'm not going to be in disbelief about it. In fact, if it stopped acting like crypto and the volatility weren't there even to the downside, then I'd be in disbelief.
All right. Truth of the matter is, where XRP is today is not the same place it was even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. We're targeting tokenization of funds. We've gone from 50 million to 5 billion on the XRP ledger over the last 16 to 18 months. We're targeting stablecoin payments, right? Stablecoin payments will be over 100 trillion here before you know it, and that'll grow to 200 or 300 trillion globally collectively. And I do think with RLUSD and Ripple being a primary partner with some of the largest financial institutions in the world, it's only a matter of time before this truly explodes. You also need to take a look at the ETFs, and the available options for investors to onboard money into XRP has expanded greatly over the last 12 months. Also, take a look at the AI narrative forming, how Ripple and the XRP Ledger Foundation are positioning the XRP Ledger to be there for machine-to-machine agentic payments. All of these use cases are massive, multi-trillion-dollar use cases in the future, and the XRP Ledger is leading. Throw on everything else that's going on in the background, and I can't be more excited to hold XRP currently. You also have the SEC and the CFTC currently getting ready. If the Senate is unable to move forward with crypto regulation, the SEC and the CFTC are moving to do just that. Give the industry enough information that they need so they can actually move forward with their plans for tokenization and blockchain adoption. President Trump will be in that office for at least another 2.5 years. And by the time the next administration gets in, if they are anti-crypto and we haven't been able to pass crypto regulation, well, it might be too late at that point because everybody will be using the technology. How do you go backwards? And so it's really great to see regulators stepping up if the Senate is unable to deliver. Remember, it's been over 12 months that senators have been squabbling over a key few details. The Clarity Act came over from the House. It was 300 pages. Now it's well over 6. We just need Democrats to move a little bit, Republicans to move a little bit, and the White House and President Trump to move a little bit, and we will get a bill. Also, the OCC, Scott Bessent, making big changes here. New entrants to the banking system drive competition and innovation and are crucial to a healthy financial system. Under Scott Bessent's leadership, the OCC is reinvigorating de novo chartering and commends the FDIC for its recent efforts to do the same. So it says, for more than a decade, regulators signaled that those seeking a federal bank charter and federal deposit insurance need not apply. Entities that engage in legally permissible activities, including those involving digital assets and other novel technologies, should have a path to become a national bank. America and the OCC are once again open for business. If that is not bullish for Ripple and XRP, I don't know what else to show you, right? Ripple's bank charter will officially integrate RLUSD and XRP with the federal banking system. You're talking about a system that processes well over $5 trillion, $5 to $7 trillion a day in this country. And then you can use XRP directly, RLUSD directly. If that doesn't have an impact on price, if that doesn't have an impact on people wanting to own the asset, I don't really know what else to show you at this point. And so a lot of people have been talking about this. Following closely, Ripple also announced in early July that it submitted an application to the OCC, the same OCC that is saying that we are going to give digital asset companies the same treatment as everybody else. And at the same time applied for a federal master account intending to place the reserves of its stablecoin RLUSD directly at the central banking system level. That is meaningful adoption once we get there. All right, this is meaningful institutional regulatory win for Ripple and RLUSD, but it is not an announcement that XRP or RLUSD have been integrated into the Federal Reserve, nor does it grant Ripple a Fed master account, right? Obviously, we know that Ripple's applied for these things. They're setting up their bank charter. We haven't really heard anything about their Fed master account. As soon as we do, I will bring you that information. Like the second it happens, the OCC gave Ripple National Trust Bank preliminary conditional approval for a federal national trust bank charter. Ripple must complete a pre-opening conditions and receive final OCC authorization before the bank can operate. The OCC can modify, suspend, or rescind the preliminary approval in the interim. The planned bank is a narrowly scoped, uninsured national trust bank, not a full-service commercial bank. It can perform fiduciary and custody and related reserve management services, but it cannot take retail deposits. So if you thought you were going to open up an account yourself at the Ripple National Trust Bank, it's probably not going to happen in the short term. Now, they could obviously change that in the future, apply for a more retail-focused bank if they wanted to, but right now they've always been focused on institutions. And it says, what does this mean for RLUSD? Ripple National Trust Bank is intended to manage a segregated pool of liquid assets backing RLUSD and act as collateral trustee for the benefit of RLUSD holders. Importantly, the OCC letter says RLUSD continues to be issued by Ripple's subsidiary, Standard Custody and Trust Company, which is regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services, not by a new trust bank itself. If finalized, this adds federal OCC supervision around the reserve management and fiduciary layer alongside the existing New York regulatory framework for the issuer. That should be a stronger due diligence narrative for banks, corporates, payment companies, and institutions deciding whether to use RLUSD. The structure could make RLUSD operationally more accessible for institutional use, particularly collateral, treasury, custody, and settlement workflows. Because reserves are segregated and administered within a federally supervised trust bank structure, that is a materially improvement in the trust architecture, but it does not itself create demand or guarantee adoption, which I think is something that we just need to keep in the back of our mind. Now, Smoke Dog also said Ripple can move forward without the Clarity Act. The uncertainty around the Clarity Act does not mean XRP's adoption has to wait. The approval of the OCC charter will grant Ripple federal legitimacy through the banking and regulatory framework, which means Ripple's technology has another path forward if legislation continues to stall. The Clarity Act would provide broader regulatory certainty, but it's not the only path to institutional adoption. If it does not pass at all, the OCC charter becomes the primary vehicle for federal legitimacy. Ripple is preparing for both outcomes, and this has all been very well documented in the past. The companies filing for OCC charters are not doing so as a fallback while they wait for Congress. Several of them, like Circle, Ripple, and Coinbase, have been among the most active lobbyists for the Clarity Act. They are pushing both routes because they are open and because they cannot afford to bet the business on either side alone. If it passes without yield provisions, they get regulatory clarity but lose the competitive tool banks were most afraid of. If it does not pass at all, the OCC becomes the primary vehicle for federal legitimacy, and the stablecoin yield question gets resolved through a future rulemaking rather than legislation. None of these outcomes eliminates the crypto sector. All of them change it, which I think was very well said. We also had this update from King Solomon that I covered in a previous video. Nasdaq files to expand crypto ETF options. That includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Link and HBAR all potentially sitting inside the same crypto basket. Nasdaq ISE just filed a major proposed rule change with the SEC that could standardize how options on digital commodity ETFs are listed. Under this new proposal, qualifying options could be listed without additional SEC approval for each product. Up to 15% of a basket could include digital commodities that could meet the derivatives market requirement. Each digital commodity must meet a 700 million plus average daily global market value threshold. Nasdaq replaces crypto asset with digital commodity. Digital commodities are explicitly distinguished from securities. Wall Street is building standardized infrastructure for an entirely new asset class, and XRP will be at the heart of that. And of course, we are seeing some new information around Stellar and the XRP Ledger, a possible new bridge emerging. Stellar finds a new path to the XRP Ledger through Zora Finance. A notable connection is emerging between two blockchain networks that share a history but have spent more than a decade on separate paths. According to Zora Finance, a neobank focused on the XRPL ecosystem, native XLM can now settle on the XRP Ledger. This development offers a fresh example of interoperability between Stellar and the XRP Ledger, potentially bringing their ecosystems closer together. Stellar and the XRP Ledger were both built around the idea of creating faster, more accessible financial infrastructure. Their paths diverged in 2004, with each network developing its own technology, assets, and communities. Now Zora Finance is creating a new link between the two. For XLM holders, this goes beyond simply adding another network to its asset reach. Native XLM settling through the XRP Ledger could provide access to another settlement environment and potentially expand how the asset interacts with the XRP Ledger base liquidity and financial applications. And Bank XRP said XLM can now settle on the XRP Ledger, boosting interoperability between the Stellar ecosystem and the XRP Ledger ecosystem. And whales continue to accumulate XRP at these discounts, whether we're at $1 or we go down to 85 cents. I don't really care. I'm going to acquire more XRP at these prices. You can do whatever you like, but if you bought it 3, if you bought it 2, hey, buying XRP at a 70, 80, or even a 50% discount right now, it sounds like a good idea to me. Let me know what you guys think about all of these stories. Please like, share, comment, get this in front of more people. I greatly appreciate it. And go sign up for Kalshi. It's actually a lot of fun to just play around with some of these prediction markets. And if you guys like perpetuals, they are one of the more regulated venue to do that here in the United States, being one of the biggest prediction markets in the world now. I'm really excited to be partnered with Kalshi and go take a look at what they have to offer today. All right. I'll see you guys. Aloha.